Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. Welcome to the Sunday chat. We will have some orchid bits. It does wander off sometimes, but so be it. There will be some workman noise, whatever that construction is that's going on over the fence there is going on. Guy's a working guy, so he works all week and then he comes home and he's working most of his weekend as well. And I suspect he's desperate to get it done before we get some rain. Ha ha ha. So you've got plenty of time, mate. Plenty of time. There's still no sign of any decent rain. There's possibility of some showers. But they've said they're hit and miss. Not everybody will see one. So you know what's going to happen, don't you? I won't see one. We need some steady rain for a period. It's getting silly now. 5 weeks, I think, without any substantial rain. At the time when everything's trying to grow, you know, when it's trying to do its best. So, not good. It also means I've got extra work to do out in the garden all the time as well. Something else I can do without. Right. The Orchid Society meeting yesterday went very well. It's a Zoom meeting with a guy from the Eric Young Foundation. You've heard me talk about that. It's on the island of Jersey. The Channel Islands are a strange thing because they're very close to the coast of France, but they don't belong to France. Technically speaking, they are part of Great Britain or the British Isles, but they're not. They're autonomous, but they sort of hang on to us. But if you look at the names of the towns and all things like that, it's a hell of a French influence over there. But one day I would like to visit the Eric Young Foundation, but cost of getting there is you've either got to fly or take a ferry or swim. Or teleport, I suppose. But yeah, and none of it's cheap because it's a short and curly's job. They know they've got you. You have no other choice but to use those services. So maybe one day, I don't know. But it would be a smashing place to visit. Anyway, it was a good talk. The actual Zoom part of it went okay. The kit behaved itself. Yeah, so I did put some feelers out because I wasn't well during the week. It dawned on me, what would happen if I couldn't go? What would happen if I'd been too ill to actually do that journey and go to the meeting yesterday? I've got all the kit, and at the moment I'm the only one that's even got a clue how to put it all together. So I think at the next meeting we need to have a little chat about that. Some of the kit could be left at the hall. The projector could, the sound system could, but the laptop can't. That has to be maintained and updated and everything. You can't just, if I left it for a month in a cupboard somewhere, the battery would go flat as a pancake. And they don't like going totally flat. It can mess a laptop up. So I'd at least have to have that here. I could write instructions on how to put it all together, which wire goes where and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, it's food for thought. Our next meeting is our AGM. And thanks to the Assistant Treasurer Jane for this one, we have a new way of looking at the initials AGM. It's annual groaning and moaning. And I like that. I like that a lot. That is a fair bit of what goes on. Groaning and moaning. But yeah, annual general meeting obviously. Where the committee get re-elected, normally en masse. You know, in other words, the chair and the president get done separately. Lynn's stepping down, so she will no longer be joint chair, she'll still be on the committee, and Peter's going to have a go at doing it on his own with some backup. Yeah, so he won't be totally on his own. Some people will be helping him, including Lynn, obviously, who's got the most experience of that particular role and all the little quirks that go with it. It sounds like you just stand at the front and do the announcements. There's a lot more goes on than that. So that's that. But yeah, it was a good meeting. I felt okay yesterday. This morning when I got up, I was a little bit iffy again. But as the day's gone on, I'm okay again now. So it seems to come and go. But this all getting all bunged up round here, which normally leads to a headache, has not gone away. It's not totally gone away. But we seem to have stopped the wheezing effect and everything. So the blockages and everything seem to be clearing. So we're getting there, but not totally clear yet. Arranged with Hannah for her next visit, so not this coming weekend, but the one after. Hannah will be down. So next weekend's just a normal weekend. So that's that sorted out. The one thing that must be done while Hannah's down is this lot. This needs coming off. It's starting to become tedious. So it needs coming off. Get back to being civilised again, rather than windswept and interesting, I think is the expression. Yeah, so that'll have to happen. As far as out here as an environment is concerned, I'm using the humidifier quite a bit now. I've just literally turned the humidifier and the fan off so that I could do this video. But I mean, I'm running, during the day we're looking at, it's about 21, 22 in here at the moment, and we're at 80% humidity, which I'm happy with that. I quite like it a little bit warmer. I think sort of 22, 23 would be good at around 80%. And that would be nice for the duration of the daylight hours. Now I won't get that because it's not that temperature first thing in the morning, obviously, and it cools down, you know, as it starts to get dark again. But we're in for a bit of a cold snap again. Threat of frost tomorrow morning, possibly not here on the very south coast, but you know, not too far inland. So it still hasn't really warmed up properly, but as I said, the temperature to me doesn't, I'm not that fussed one way or the other. It's the rain I want. But anyway, out here we've got, we're heading up to the most amount of daylight hours that we're going to get. The difference between now and the longest amount of daylight hours isn't that great, the difference between the two. So we've got good light now, as good as it gets. Now obviously on a bright clear day, the light level in here is quite a bit more intense than like today when it's all cloudy. It's not cloudy really dull, it's still cloudy brightish, but the light level in here, your eyes adjust to it and it seems fine, you know, but it's not as bright as it could be. So, you know, obviously the growing conditions are based on a stable, good level of light over the period of the daylight hours. And I don't always get it in this country because of the nature of the weather, which we've got no control over whatsoever. But as I said, I'm not so fussed on the temperature at the moment. It's the rain I want, and that's for outside, not for in here, obviously. But yeah, the only effect really is the watering frequency is increasing, and so is the feeding frequency. Depending on which set I'm watering, I could be going 3 feeds and then a flush. Now I've thought about this flush business. If I was using rainwater, I wouldn't give a monkeys. I'd carry on the way I always have. But the way that roots work, the science going on, is nature trying to balance itself. So when you've got the inside of a root that's got a very low salts level You know, in other words, there's not much fertiliser in there at that time, and you feed your plant, you have an excess outside the root compared with inside the root, and nature tries to balance that, which is how the fertiliser is drawn in through the root and then becomes available to the plant. You know, it sort of follows the path of transpiration up through the path to get where it needs to be. Now that science works both ways. So if your roots have got an amount of feed within them and you put pure water on the outside, you're going to suck that fertiliser out. It's going to work the other way because it doesn't care. It doesn't care which way it's going, it needs to balance, needs to become in balance. So I'm reluctant to use RO water on its own, but I've done a check, and because of the way that I feed and the media that I use, which is all organic, I know there's some pumice mixed in sometimes and some perlite sometimes, but in the main we're talking about organic media. There's always an element of leftover fertiliser even when the pot's dry. Now I've measured the output. I've just picked a pot up at random, you know, that was fed last time I watered, so a reasonable gap. And I've poured what I would do for a flush through that pot, and the output is measurable, reasonably measurable. So strictly speaking, it's not even a true flush. Now okay, it's taken some of it through and it's come out the bottom, but it's left some behind. So my pots are never truly flushed. To do that, I'd have to pour a hell of a lot of RO water through the pots and then come back probably an hour or so later and do it again. And I'm not using that much water. I see no point. I never have. And stuff isn't dropping dead left, right and centre, is it? So, yeah, but yeah, just a little bit on that science of how the fertiliser gets inside the roots, basically. I think the process is called osmosis or something, but it's nature trying to put things in balance and making the inside of the root the same salts level as the outside. That's what's trying to happen, which is normally drawing the feed in, but it can work the other way. So that's that. The only things getting fed really heavily at the moment are Cymbidiums, most of which are in growing mode now. We'll probably be doing a repot on one of those soon, maybe two. The last main update I did on the Cymbidiums, which you can go back and find, probably had a sensible title like a Cymbidium update. So you can search for it. Just search the Cymbidium, it'll be reasonably obvious. But yeah, I did, as we had a good look at them, the pots they were in and everything, we actually decided which ones need work on. And did I make a note of it? Did I, hell? So I'll have to go and find that video and watch it, because I don't want to go through all that again, if you see what I mean. So I will go and have a look at the decision-making process last time they were updated, to find out which ones need the repot. Then I can have a closer look at those to find out you know, what's going on. Now the one behind me, this thing, we have a plant auction at the AGM. Guess where that's going? That way I won't put a reserve on it, so it will go. One way or the other, I won't be bringing it home. Somebody will bid on it, because it's actually quite a healthy plant. There's a couple of marks where there was a few bits of scale on it, but there's no scale on it now. So, you know, and it's, I don't think it's one that no, it doesn't need a repot, so it's got everything going for it to get rid of it. It's the one that has the cascade with greenish flowers with a white lip, and unfortunately it's like a poor man's version of that one. The tiger tail is a much better version of that type of bloom. So we don't need two. We don't need two the same, do we? Or very similar, not exactly the same. So that's where that one's going. there's probably not much else I can take to put in an auction. Don't think there's any other Cymbidiums I actually want to get rid of. It's just that one really. And it's a pretty large plant. It's taken up a fair bit of shelf behind me here. And with it gone, the peonies can be spread out a bit. They're actually, I prefer them to all be on one shelf, but there's 3 of them up there at the moment. So I've got 3 up there and all the rest down here. But with that Cymbidium gone, there'd be room for all of them on that shelf, I suspect, which will be good. Right, so what else is going on? I was talking to Ken, who is still chair at Bournemouth, but he's desperately trying to get out of it. Him and his Mrs. Marion, they want to concentrate on the shows and the displays at the various events. That's what they want to do. But to do that, he's chair and she's secretary. They need to come away from those posts. And they can't get anybody to do it, so they're stuck with it. Several of the people who were on the show committee don't do it anymore. So they've become like the main people to sort the shows and the displays out. And that should be a separate role at that Orchid Society. But they can't walk away from their elected roles at the moment, which is a shame. But talking to Ken, he had 2 lovely Psychopsis, with several spikes on each, which he brought in. And I said, I've just had one sent to me, sort of, Prezi. And I said it arrived bare rooted, which is a bit iffy to do that to them because they don't like their roots being disturbed. And he said, I reminded him, I said, do you remember a long time ago when the RHS show that's at Wisley used to be in the halls in central London? The right pain to get to, that was. And it was a big event in those days as well. And I said, one year there was a seller there who only sold Psychopsis, and they had dozens and dozens and dozens of them, and they weren't very expensive. And I said, I didn't know much about orchids to any extent. I didn't even know what they were. I just thought the blooms were absolutely fascinating. And he said, I remember it well because at the end of the show, the guy didn't want to take them home, basically. He was from the continent. And they were, it's just going back a long time. I think they were on sale for like 20-25 quid. And, Ken said, well, I wouldn't mind some, but I'm not paying that for it. And he said, well, what would you offer then? He said, £5. And the guy went, all right then. So he bought 4. So he got 4 Psychopsis in bloom for 20 quid. Those days are long gone. Yeah, long gone. But yeah, he had 2 nice plants, and he said out of the 4, those 2 are still doing well and the other 2 aren't doing so good. But he said he's found that they seem to do a lot better if you keep them drier. They don't like being wet all the time. They like to dry quickly, which is why I mounted mine basically, so that it gets its water and its feed, it can take it on board, but it's not then sitting in soggy media, which they really don't like. So yeah, sounds a distant memory, and somebody else remembered it as well, which makes a change. Yes, when the RHS show was in London, we went on a coach. You didn't go separately. There's nowhere to park. You can park in a NCP car park, not that far away, but it's about 12 quid an hour or something stupid. Yeah, the London car parks are ridiculously expensive and normally hotly monitored, so you've only got to go a couple of minutes over your time and that's it, ticket. So a big deal. But yeah, we used to go on a coach. It's a long tedious journey as well. I remember once we went to RHS halls, and the route that the guy took on the way back was to get onto the M4, and to get onto the M4, the route he took went past the Twickenham rugby ground, and there was a game on. England were playing somebody. Just solid traffic, all trying to find somewhere to park. I'll never forget that, because I didn't know London that well, only the through roads really, and I thought, what on earth is going on here? There's been a big accident, or is there a fire or something? What is all this traffic doing here? And then I saw the, Twickenham, the ground, all lit up. So, yes, so the event was much bigger then. It used to take up 2 halls, all orchids, and lots of people from the continent and farther afield, from the Far East in some cases, used to come to that event. But now, following Brexit, those foreign people just don't come. It's too expensive for them. The likes of Orchid can still manage it, but they've done some sort of deal in Germany where they export from Ecuador direct to Germany at a sort of set rate, and then somehow or other from Germany they manage to get them here. That's the bit I don't quite understand. Anyway, Orchid do turn up here at the NEC show. I don't know whether they go to any others now or whether they just stick to the continent, but most of the others just don't come over anymore. They stick to the shows on the continent, like the big one in Dresden, huge big, that's an international orchid show. I might go to that one day, but again, it's the cost of getting there. You can't get there and back in a day. It's I think it's northern Germany. It's certainly not central Germany. It's northern Germany, I think, Dresden. And you've got to you've either got to fly, and then you're without your car. You've got no transport, so you need taxis and stuff, which are not cheap, because again it's short and curlies. They know there's a big event on, and people getting off the plane are going to want to go there, so that's the taxi price doubled, isn't it? But yeah, I would like to go to that show, but it's a long way to go. It would be incredibly expensive. I can't bring any plants back. You sort of think, why bother? But I had a chat to Lynn about the NEC. The information's not available yet, but eventually there should be the ability to get heavily discounted tickets to get in for Orchid Society members, and apparently, according to Lynn, it's highly likely we'll be able to book those online, and it'll be an e-ticket, so it'll have to be on my phone, I suppose. I suppose I could print it. But yeah, there's that, and then there's the car parking to do as well. But I said to Lynn, I'd still like to go. I'm not getting involved with taking plants or bringing them home. I just want to go and have a nice day out. And the first day is a Thursday, so I would go on the Thursday. First of all, it's a weekday, so there'll be less people, but the journey will involve more traffic because it's a work day. Pardon me, but I would leave like crack of dawn, prior to the crack of dawn probably. Forget how long it takes to get up there, but it's a fair way, and there's a serious roadworks issue on, I think it's where the A34 meets the A40 or somewhere up north of Oxford. There's a serious kerfuffle that can cost you half an hour of queuing, but there are alternative routes if you know that's there. So my obvious route from here would be, not that you're going to understand this because most of you don't live in this country, but from here it would be Salisbury, Marlborough, Swindon, Cirencester bypass, M5, and then up that side and come across, as opposed to going up across and then up past Oxford and then up from there. The problem is the M40, when you get, if you can get on it past these flipping roadworks and everything, is constantly being mucked about with. It's a bit like parts of the M27. So there's speed restrictions frequently where they're still doing work on barriers and stuff like that. So it's not a motorway where you can get a good move on, which I do like to do. But anyway, I'd only be going for the day. I'd leave very, very early to get up there in plenty of time, get some decent parking where I haven't got to, you know, get on a bus to actually get from the car to the actual buildings and that, and get in there first thing, and then have a full day, get some lunch, chat to people, have a look at the traders, have a look around some of the rest of the show, and then make my way back when it gets near closing time, which will, you know, if that's whatever, 5, 6 o'clock, they're still only going to get me back here sort of 9, 10 at the latest. Okay, it's a long day, but it's not all busy. I like my driving, so the drive up would be pleasant. It's not straight into the sun either. Some trouble with driving at dawn. If you're heading east, you're driving straight into the sun. Anyway, so that's to come. That's in June. So there'll be some videos of display stands and things like that. So hopefully that's the plan. What I have. Apart from that, there isn't much else. Oh yes, there is. I noticed there is a rare plant fair, and it's at the place where Bournemouth hold their show. And at the moment, it's on a weekend when I don't think I've got anything else to do, so I should be able to go. But I'll have to double check that. It might now be the weekend that Hannah's coming down. That still might mean, if she fancies going to that, that still might mean we go. But it depends, you know. So it's not just orchids. There are, you know, orchid traders there, but there's carnivorous plants, house plants, other type stuff. So it's a fair that turns up in several places. It turns up in Bristol. I think it turns up in Cambridge or Coventry or over that way somewhere. And again this one in Bournemouth. But so far I haven't been able to get to it because it's clashed with something else. So we might be able to do that. And that, if it's the one, if I go to the one in Bournemouth, which is the only one I'm interested in, it's just up the road. It's half-hour drive, you know. So there's that possibly to come. But apart from the NEC, the Gardeners World Live, and the National Orchid Show that's in the Floral Hall, there isn't really anything else till towards the autumn. The shows have sort of finished now. They're all done. Well, the ones I can get to. So that's that. Now, I've been naughty again because I'm pretty sure I have some new members. And I think I may have lost one or two on the YouTube side of things, and I think I might have gained one, but I think I've gained one or two on the Patreon site as well. So before this video gets posted, I'll update the roll call at the end. But at the moment, I haven't actually got the names. But I'll update the roll call. But the stats that I get on Patreon are not very good. It takes me a while to work out what on earth's going on. And on YouTube, it's not much better because I can look at my current members on YouTube. There is no way of looking to see ones that I've lost. That information's gone. There's no historical view or anything like that. So the only way I can do it is I get a list of my members up on YouTube, and then I get the roll call up at the end of the video and do a one-for-one match till I find out which one's gone missing. Because obviously that needs deleting from the roll call. But yeah, people will come and go. I mean, people will leave for various reasons. I'm okay with that. I'm appreciative of those that join and those that stay. But it's half expected that some people will, you know, leave at some point or another. Busy guy over there. And of course it's all, he's been doing the roof lately, and it's big panels. You know, you put a big panel up like that, and then I think he's using a nail gun, you know, on each joist all along. So a lot of noise, a lot of banging and hammering, interrupted by power saws and things. But it's a sizable structure. I still haven't quite worked out what it is. It could just be a summer house. The one thing I dread that it is, which is a very remote possibility, one of the youths that live there, so a daughter or a son, I think it's a daughter, appears to be a member of some sort of band, because once in a blue moon there's obviously some live music going on. You can tell that because it's out of tune, and that bugs me. That's one thing I cannot stand. It's funny, in the old days when guitars never stayed in tune very well, you only had to get a 2-degree rise in temperature and the tuning was miles off. But basically, amateur bands were notorious for playing that famous number called tune-up. In between every number, boing, 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 dang, 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 dang. Trying to get them flipping guitars back in tune because they had the audacity to play them. The strings are much better now. They do hold better, but they're still affected by temperature, humidity, and being bashed around as well. You think of some of the heavy metal bands, you watch how hard the strings are actually hit. No wonder they go out of tune. But yeah, this is something I just cannot stand, is out of tune instruments. There's no excuse. The only excuse you can have is that you can't hear it, in which case you don't know. But I mean, there's so many amplifiers and that nowadays have got auto-tune on them. So literally you can just turn it on, you play your whatever, your top E string, and it's just got a little needle. And you're either high or low or you're spot on. And that's it. You don't need to be able to hear whether it's in tune or not. I mean, I can, so I wouldn't use an auto-tune. But the thing that most people don't understand with guitars, it's not just whether it's in tune or not, it's whether the guitar is intonated correctly. The actual setup is ultra important for not only getting a guitar in tune, but for it staying in tune throughout the length of the fretboard. Because you know, you get a guitar in tune on one of your open chords, like an open G or open E or something like that, and then you move up to a bar chord and it's miles out. You think, I've just tuned that. It's the guitar. It needs setting up properly. And it's pure science. It's nothing more than pure science. You've got that end of the guitar string goes over a nut, basically it's called a nut, and then onto the winder thing, screwy thing. So that's the start point of the string that you play. The other end is literally the bridge end, and halfway between the two is a fret, and it cuts the string in half, or does it? If it cuts the string in half when you press the string on that fret, then that note there is exactly an octave below that note there, which on an auto tune shows us the same note. I can hear spots of rain. Is it actually going to rain seriously? That's going to mess that guy's work up. Right, so what actually happens is the nut is fixed. Yeah, the top end of the guitar with the windy bits. That bit's fixed. But this end here, the bridge end, where the string pivots over these little bridge adjusters, it is actually an adjustable thing with a little screwdriver. So if you've got a difference between that half of the string and that half of the string, you adjust this end until they are the same. And when the notes, and those little bits will be different for each string. And when you look at what you've done, when you intonate it properly, you sort of think, I've actually moved that an eighth of an inch here. How can it have been that far out? But that's the intonation, and without that being right, you're going to be out of tune on the neck in various places. so it won't be in tune over the whole neck. So there's a beautiful video. Joe Walsh from the Eagles, well, solo artist as well, but Joe Walsh has done a how to set up your guitar properly. It's quite humorous. It's a bit it's been done in sections, and unfortunately it's got a tune that becomes quite annoying that ends each section and starts the next one. But if you want to know how to set a guitar up properly, Joe Walsh on YouTube, how to set up a guitar. Goes over everything, absolutely everything. Now he's got what's called virtually perfect pitch. So if a string's out, he knows straight away. And he's probably like me, it drives him up the wall, so he won't put up with it. But if you want to have a guitar that's going to stay in tune, first of all you need to replace your strings now and again. And yeah, it's an interesting video. But yeah, it is something that you need to do, because if it's not intonated correctly, it will never be properly in tune over the whole length of the neck. So it's and it can be noticeably out. So down like halfway up the neck you could be playing away fine and everything's fine like that. You drop down near the base of the neck and people start screwing their eyes up because it's out of tune. And if anybody's like me, it annoys them. Polite version. But yeah, it's something I need to do on my Strat at some point, is to get Joe Walsh's video up, set the Strat up, you know, with a nice blanket or something underneath it so that we don't scratch the guitar, and just go through the motions and all of the things that he suggests, just check them out. Now I think my ear is good enough to know, I mean what he does is he plays that fret, that halfway point, I think it's the 12th fret, and he just plays it and you can see him like screwing his face up like, you know, and he's actually playing the open string and then playing that fret. The note should be the same, only an octave apart. And if it resonates in any shape or form, it's not. And if it's not, you fiddle with the little screw thing. And then you turn it the wrong way and it make it worse. But yeah, I shall have to have a go at that sometime. I must get into that music room sometime. It's just such a waste. You know, the kit's all in there and everything, and I'm not doing as many videos now. I've got days where I've actually got nothing to do. There's no watering to do. You know, I do my watering in the garden first thing. So there's no excuse really. I've only got to take the laptop upstairs and plug it in, and then start fiddling around with the stuff to see if it still works, and see if I can remember how it still works. And you may have to have a go at that. But the problem is I can never play much. Obviously the keyboards, I'm not very good on keyboards. I can play a bit, and that's no energy, no effort whatsoever. It's all electronic, because the little keyboard itself makes no noise at all. It's pure digital. It just produces waves that go into something on the computer that then turns it into noise, which I can choose what type of noise I want it to be. You know, I can make the keyboard sound like a guitar if I want. Make it sound like bells, you know, make it sound like a church organ. But that's all electronic on the laptop. But yeah, so I can play that. But if you start looking at my acoustic guitar or my 6-string, I'm only going to get about 5 minutes and my fingers are going to be sore. Because these fingers are now wussy. You know, they're not gnarly old man's sort of fingers, which would be very useful. They're soft. And you start playing a 6-string guitar, and after not much time at all, they're going to start feeling sore. And you've then got to do it again. And you've got to do it again. And if you want to get to the point where you can play for a reasonable amount of time, you've got to do a lot of work to actually harden these fingers off. Now I don't finger pluck, I use a plectrum. Well, I use my fingers for my bass. I also use plectrum on the bass, but I use my fingers a lot on the bass. But they're big, thick, chunky strings. They don't cut into your fingers. So I can play my bass for a very long time. But after a relatively short time I start getting annoyed, because up in here I've got all these marvellous bass lines that I know, and these don't remember, they don't do it properly anymore. This is moving faster than these are. Still, we may get back into it one day. One day. So that's that. How long's this thing been going on? It sounds like we've been waffling a while. It's 40 minutes already. Right, so orchid stuff. The only thing I really want to show you is this rather magnificent Oncidium behind me, of which I had two, because there were two in the pot when I bought it. But it's open enough now for you to see its form. Doesn't matter which one I pick up, they're both got the same blooms on. But in my humble opinion, this is pretty special. Two colours, a bright yellow, not a dull, dismal yellow, a bright yellow and almost black. It's about as close, it's certainly darker than Cali Night, which is over my shoulder here and going over. So yeah, I reckon that's pretty special. Sabine Mayer, Oncidium Sabine Mayer. Pretty good stuff. Yeah, that's all really. Apart from the usual thank yous for everybody for being members and turning up, watching the videos and all that sort of stuff. Quite a few people have said that they're not looking forward to me doing less videos, but it may fit in with their lifestyles better. And the thing that I don't like to admit to, but it also means they might be able to watch some other channels as well. I don't want to hog people's time. It's not fair. There are other channels trying to get going, trying to move up in the YouTube world and stuff. And if you dedicate all your time to one specific channel, then obviously those aren't getting a chance, are they? I mean, I watch some other orchid channels, but there's not many around anymore. And out of the ones that are around, I don't particularly like them all. There are some that for one reason or another, I just don't watch. I mean, in some cases it's clickbait. You know, you've got this fantastic title, do this or all your orchids will die. And you have a look at it and it's cobblers. It's just to get you to watch. They get about 30 seconds of my time, if they're lucky. And then there are the stable channels that have been running quite a long time. I watch those sometimes. Depends on the subject matter, whether it interests me or not. But I mean, I still watch some of Danny's videos. She was hacking a Tulumnia to pieces recently. Brought back memories for me. I used to have quite a large collection of Tulumnias, or Tulumnias as she calls them. Not quite sure why, but Tulumnias. And basically they didn't make it round here. It was far too cold for them. They're Caribbean basin plants, so they're tropical plants. They don't like cold, and they just keeled over. They also got affected badly by scale around the other place before they came here. So they were on a downward slope, those that made it here anyway. But yeah, I can't grow those anymore, it's too cold. But yeah, so thanks for everybody who watches and spends some of their valuable time watching some of my videos. It's appreciated. If you watch a video, don't forget the thumbs up. That's free, costs nothing, and YouTube does take notice of it. If you're not subscribed, it would be nice if you did so. Again, that costs nothing. You just press a button and you're subscribed. And the other thing I always remind people of is the hype, which is, it's not a new thing anymore, and most people that use it are used to it and everything. It's not available on all platforms. It probably never will be. I can't see it ever being available on a laptop. And one of the main reasons it's phone based is it's activated by a swipe. Well, you can only do that on a touch screen, can't you? I can't do that on a laptop. I should be able to do some sort of control function and drag as an equivalent, but I don't think they'll ever set it up on laptops. There's a few other things it's not available on, certainly not on TVs. TVs are for watching YouTube videos and nothing else. So you can't leave comments, you know. I don't even think you can do a like or anything like that, you know. So, but yeah, but you've got the beauty of your big screen, you know, taking up half your wall. I've got a big screen, but not that big. And it's set. I've got a big screen that goes with the laptop. TV's separate. But yeah, thanks for watching the videos when you get time. Thumbs up, subscribe and hype, all very useful things. YouTube doesn't take so much notice of subscribers nowadays. There are certain bands and numbers of subscribers that it takes notice of whether you're above or below, but it doesn't keep track of them like it used to. What it will take notice of is if your subscriber numbers start doing that, because there'll be a reason for that. And their whole thing is geared up to engagement and retention. That's their way nowadays. And they've got some very clever ways of measuring that. The algorithm's got very sophisticated, and I would say is not far off foolproof now. You can't muck it up. You can't fool it anymore like you used to be able to. I mean, the views are important, number of views on your videos, you know, being relatively consistent or preferably gradually increasing. The idea of the increasing views is that you're getting more people watching your channel, which again, YouTube like that. So anyway, thanks for those who do, and it is appreciated. I had a hell of a shock back in the week. I'm not doing a name because it might not be appropriate, but you can leave money as a comment. Yeah, so it comes up as a comment with a bright banner at the top of it with a value on it and a symbol representing the country. So like, you know, it's US dollars, you can have Australian dollars, Canadian dollars, and this value was 2,100 and something or other. I thought, what the hell? Somebody's typed that in wrong. And it was rupees. So it wasn't a thousands of pounds or anything silly. But good. I looked at it and I thought, who the hell's done that? Because I immediately thought of, you know, a really, really high value. It was a value that was appreciated, don't get me wrong. Any donation and contribution is appreciated. But as I always say, the most efficient way of donating money or leaving a contribution to the channel is buy me a coffee, because they take so little of it. That contribution done as a comment on YouTube will take nearly a third of that. So they're getting something for nothing, and I get what's left, which is still nice to have, but not as good as it would have been if it had been done on Buy Me a Coffee. So that's that. And yeah, so thanks for being members, and if you're not a member, don't worry about it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for doing all the various things that contribute to the channel and keep it slowly but surely growing. It's appreciated. And things coming up, there will be a members only video this week, probably tomorrow. I know I don't normally post tomorrow, but I'm late with that. That should have been done at the beginning of the month and it hasn't been, so I need to catch up with that. There will be another one of the final episodes in the Project Orchids. There'll be one of those this week. That's two videos, although one is members only, so it's only one really, isn't it? And I think there's a couple of repots I might do, and I might actually take the plunge and do a Cymbidium. We'll see how we go. That's going to be hard work, isn't it? So if it needs repotting, it means it's big and bulky and it's filled to pot. So the first job will, you know, borrow some muscles from somebody else to try and get the thing out of the pot. Because if it's in a really good Cymbidium pot, I'm not destroying the pot. like to keep hold of them. But yeah, so there's a few things like that coming up. And I've got my MOT on my car, which I've got to book in, so I'll be off out tomorrow. Got a parcel to collect in the local shop from Amazon. It's just a useful way of not paying postage and packing, basically. Get it delivered to the local shop. You know, I get a text saying it's arrived, and I just go round and show the text on my phone, and they go and get it out the back and give it to me. And it's just round the corner. But yeah, I've got to book my MOT in as well. I really hope that doesn't cost much. We shall see. And as far as this video is concerned, here endeth, as they say. And I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.